Danny from Vanlife Northwest coming to you today from this gorgeous mountaintop in Washington to show off this 1992 Toyota HiAce cruising cabin. This is a 4x4 diesel pop-top camper. Very rare and desirable model these days. I think only just recently people are actually starting to find out about these. Great vans. Same chassis as my personal van, which is an LH119. So that's the middle wheelbase length for the HiAces of this generation. About 8 inches longer than a Super Custom. And instead of coils in the back, it has leafs. Springs we're talking about. Pop top canopy. This canopy is actually in good shape. Most of these campers have pretty tattered canopies. This one is fully functional. And inside we have a pretty balanced camper build. Over here we've got seating for 4 to 5 people. And a little table that can be removed and stashed out back. These are also belted positions, so 1, 2, 3, 4, and then 5, 6, 7 up front. That's pretty awesome for a camper van of this size to have 7 belted positions. Big family. So over here we've got a humble little 2-burner stove and sink. Now when we got this, the spigot, faucet, whatever you'd like to call it, was broken. Pretty common for 25, 26-year-old plastic to be broken, so we replaced that with something that had a similar sort of vibe to the original. Once we got that working, we realized that the pump wasn't working, and the pump is down here for the water, as well as the water tank. So, hard to see, but it's up in there, top left. And then, along with that, all these campers take a proprietary style of gas bottle to power the stove. So we made an adapter to utilize the standard green camp bottles, Coleman camp bottles that most people use. You could also adapt it to run a larger bottle with more capacity if you'd like. Now this is a cool setup. There are some cool things about it, but there are some wonky things in my opinion as well too. One being, this is your storage for your clothes. Excuse the vibration in the camera. Right here. It's almost like a clothes hamper. Not sure what was going on in the mind of the person who was designing this camper. I guess it fits nicely in there, but I wouldn't want to just store all my clothes in a bag like that. Not for my camper. I think there's other ways you can organize your clothing better. And while we're talking shit on this thing a little bit, there isn't any storage underneath the seats, which it's cool. Yeah, you have a strong belted position seat, but you do sacrifice under the seat storage, which on my personal van, and a lot of people's vans, that's where they stash all their gear. So not a lot of room for gear in here. So if this was mine, I'd want to build some overhead storage or completely modify this. I know some people online who have these have totally gutted them and made their own build, which is awesome. So regarding making your own build, your own camper build, I've seen anything from plastic crates with a piece of plywood on top to builds that take people multiple years. And you know what? I love it all. Because anything that you do yourself, no matter how snappy it looks on an Instagram photo, is something to be proud of. And it's built for yourself. It's built to your specifications and you did it yourself. So I'm all about the DIY camper builds. So up top, this is a pop top after all. We have what I'd consider about a full-size bed up here. Now this panel, take it, flip it back, and then you have your bed position up top, and it leaves a little room to holler at your friends downstairs on those cold nights. Stove and sink is nice, but personally I wouldn't want to cook in a van this size. But I mean, that's pretty classic bit of gear to have in camper vans like this, like a Westfalia or something. Good for your coffee in the morning though. I'm all about cooking my coffee in the camper in the morning though. A little bit more storage here. So, fridge, there it is. It has a fridge and it can make ice, and it's running right now. Let's see, there's a little baby ice tray. That is powered off, as well as all the camper accoutrement is powered off an auxiliary battery circuit. So this camper came stock with an auxiliary battery circuit. The battery that was in it was, in my opinion, not up to the challenge of multiple day camping. So I put in a AGM sealed battery, pretty much the biggest one I could squeeze in there. And we're talking about right in there. There's little wing nuts you can take off. And also under there, hiding behind these little jail bars, is a what is essentially a car battery charger. How that works is that for the shore power on this, you can plug into 110 shore power, and basically that routes it straight to this battery charger, which converts it to 12 volts and charges the auxiliary battery. So that's how you get charging shore power. Then once the key's on, it bypasses that circuit and then charges the auxiliary system and runs all the auxiliary equipment off of the main battery and alternator. Over here you can stash your wardrobe and your ladder, and I think this has a mirror. It does have a mirror. Who needs a mirror when you're camping? I don't want to know. As we back up, we can get a little better visual on its stance. So we've lifted this van about 2.5 inches, which in my opinion makes these HiAces usable off-road. Stock they can be, but it just depends on what you like to do. I like to push the limits essentially when I'm going off-road. I come from Jeep off-roading lineage, so I like to get a little radical, at least as radical as you can get in a van like this. So I basically set these up how I'd want them, and the more ground clearance the better. So brand new all-terrain tires, as usual with all the vans we sell. These happen to have some aftermarket alloy rims, as well as you can see here all these HiAces have manually locking hubs, which brings up, how do you engage four-wheel drive in a van like this? A lot of you probably know, but I think a lot of you probably don't. So to engage four-wheel drive, very simple. Van has to be running. Van has to be stopped, which is an old school thing apparently. It's something I'm used to, but the van has to be stopped. Then you come over here, hit your four-wheel drive engage button. That will engage your transfer case. The power from your transmission to your transfer case to send power through your drive line to your front axle. So now you have power to your front axle, but it's spinning freely because your hub is not engaged to your front axle, and it only becomes engaged to your front axle once you lock that little dial. Quarter turn. Now you're in four-wheel drive. You go tear it up. To get out of four-wheel drive, you can reverse that process. Unlock that, press that button. Now you could, if you wanted to, leave your hubs locked in if you're generally going to be on and off-road for a weekend. It's not hurting anything as long as you're not in four-wheel drive with your hubs locked, going on dry pavement. So there. So we did a lot of work to this van. It, as clean as it was when we got it, which was, in my opinion, in a pretty good shape, it had a head gasket problem. Now, it's pretty rare for these HiAces and that motor, that 3L 2.8 liter, but it had a head gasket problem, unfortunately. It wasn't behaving like it. It didn't have any runnability symptoms, but it did have a small external leak. So a little bit of bubbling at the gasket externally. So, and it would actually go away once it was warm, but when it was cold it would do it, and it wasn't right. So we did a head gasket job on this van. While we were doing that, we rebuilt the radiator, and we also replaced every coolant hose on this thing, and did the full maintenance update that we do to all the vans, which is the full timing belt, water pump, thermostat, idler and tensioner pulleys, oil seals, belts, all the fluids, all the filters, everything. Mechanically, this thing is dialed now. Runs amazing. Very reliable van. I'm not sure why it had that little head gasket leak. Could have gotten hot at one time. Who knows? But these things are old. Even the cleanest ones have little issues like that when you get them from straight off the boat from Japan. And that's why we do what we do, which is put a lot of love and time into every van we sell. Most of our customers are coming from out of state. I'd say about half of them, and they're driving home hundreds if not thousands of miles in these things. No one's ever had a problem, and we're very proud of that track record. These are great vans and very reliable when you have that base amount of maintenance work done to it. And that's what we do. Anyway, hope you all enjoy this video. I know there's probably things I didn't cover you probably wanted to see, but anyway, stop on by vanlifenorthwest.com. I'll have more photos of the van and some details and specs on it. This van is sold, so sorry if you were interested in this van. It is sold. It's headed to Oakland, California in about an hour and a half, so I better get my ass down this mountain back into Portland. We have a new shop, y'all. It's on North Peninsular at Columbia Boulevard. It's a giant, not giant, kidding. It is a small but humble green, avocado green building with lots of cool vans outside, so we'd love to have you stop by and say what's up sometime. We're going to have a shop warming party very soon. So take care, y'all. Keep us on Instagram, and yeah, drive safe, get out there. This weather is amazing. Take care, y'all.